tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It's a very tragic situation for everyone involved, the police, other first responders, and of course the family.
Police say a young girl is dead after falling from a high-rise building in Yaletown. Plus,
yeah, look, proud of this one for sure.
One plan, many opinions. Hundreds of people sign up to speak about Vancouver's proposed budget, what could happen to taxes and services, and
you can appreciate these are complex investigations.
how are police in Surrey and beyond responding to the rash of extortion threats? More in our series ahead of a public town hall on Thursday.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Vancouver police say an 8-year-old girl has died after falling from a high-rise balcony in Yaletown. The CBC's Yasmin Ghanea has our top story.
Vancouver police say they are investigating the death of an 8-year-old girl who fell from a balcony of a Yaletown building.
It's a very tragic situation for everyone involved, the police, other first responders, and of course the family. This is a horrible, horrible thing for this family to now have to go through.
Police were called to the area around 2:30 p.m. Tuesday. They say the girl fell from the 23rd floor onto a balcony on the 7th floor of the same building.
Our major crime section is now investigating just due to the magnitude of this death. As the police, we investigate all sudden deaths to rule out criminality.
She was pronounced dead at the scene despite life-saving efforts from first responders.
We don't know the circumstances that led up to this child's death. That's something that we need to investigate, and so now that's passed off to our major crime section where we have our most experienced detectives working, and they will be able to conduct the remaining of the investigation.
CBC News has confirmed the child attended school in Squamish. In a letter sent to parents, the principal of a school in the Sea to Sky district said she was a lovely, friendly girl who will be very missed by all. The district is providing additional supports to the community, including school counseling on Wednesday and throughout the week. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Vancouver.
Vancouver's 2026 budget debate has begun, and it could take a while. Hundreds of people have signed up to speak on what will be Mayor Ken Sim's final budget before next year's municipal elections. Justin McElroy explains what's in it and why it's attracting so much attention.
Yeah, look, proud of this one for sure.
The 2026 Vancouver budget. It's a $2.4 billion plan. It sets taxes and revenue targets for next year, and more than 600 members of the public have signed up to speak at City Hall about it, more than any other budget in a long time. But what's actually in the budget? First, more money for police. The biggest increases in the proposed budget are a 10% increase in spending to police services and a 6% increase for fire and rescue. This is similar to increases they have gotten in previous years and is part of Mayor Ken Sim and ABC putting public safety at the top of their priority list. But they also have another big priority.
And we are committed to making life more affordable for the residents of Vancouver, which means zero means zero.
One of the biggest headlines of the budget is it will prevent a property tax hike for next year, at least on the local portion of your taxes. So when you want more funding for police and fire and a freeze to the overall budget, what does that mean?
Where's the beef?
Well, it means cuts in other places. The Urban Design, Planning and Sustainability Department by 14%, and the Arts, Culture and Community Services by 12%. Specifics are still being worked out, since Council only asked staff to prepare a budget with a property tax freeze last month. Things under consideration include drastically reducing the Climate Department and moving its work inside a bigger team, which Sim denies would be a total elimination, but he didn't rule out possible cuts there.
I think the bigger question is, if we're concerned about the environment and sustainability, is what outcomes are we getting? And we are committed to making sure that the outcomes are there. And so you're asking me a question I can't answer right now just because it's up to the city manager.
It also includes cutting hundreds of jobs if they can't get voluntary resignations or early retirements. And perhaps most importantly of all, boosting non-tax revenue in 2026. So examples of places they're hoping to get more money from the public is from program revenue, from $86 million to $101 million, parking revenue from $81 million to $92 million, and bylaw fine revenue from $26 million to $37 million. Now, this new budget will have to pass in 2 stages. The general direction will have to be approved this month, and a more detailed line item approval would happen in the first quarter of 2026. With Sims ABC party holding a majority on council, it's likely this budget will pass both stages, despite concerns from minority councillors and hundreds of members of the public at City Hall. Though what that means for ABC's electoral hopes, we'll have to wait until next October. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
Event organizers are already raising concerns about potential fee hikes in Vancouver. As Amelia John explains, a city staff report suggests raising the rate by thousands of dollars in some locations.
The downtown farmers market outside the art gallery is one of many special event markets in Vancouver. According to the city's general manager of engineering services, the amount of markets has increased substantially over the past 2 years, and a fee increase is needed to address pressure on public spaces. A report to council suggests increasing fees for event organizers outside downtown Vancouver from $100 to $200 next year. Within downtown, fees would go up from $100 to $400. For prime locations, up to $2,000. And for the Vancouver Art Gallery itself, up to $2,500 in peak season. Organizers are now reviewing if and how they may be affected.
We currently do budget $30,000 actually for permit fees in the city of Vancouver for the 9 markets that we do operate. The possibility that we might see those fees increase a large percentage is alarming.
Small business owners like this food truck operator say a fee increase could be financially devastating.
Small businesses struggle so much already, and this would severely impact our business. We're already being very, very strategic about which events we do because of the fact that fees have been so high.
The mayor says he only saw the report recently and council hasn't made a final decision.
When we look under the hood, if it doesn't make sense, it's something that won't get passed.
This week, City Council is hearing from hundreds of people wanting to weigh in on the proposed 2026 budget, with council expected to vote on November 25th. Amelia John, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC is now limiting when your boss can ask you for a sick note, effective immediately. Employers can no longer request a note if a worker is absent for 5 days or less, unless it happens more than twice in a year.
Really heard overwhelmingly from physicians and from the medical community was that this is a real time waster for them, to have to tie up an entire appointment time, to not necessarily even be able to make a clinical intervention.
Whiteside says family doctors welcome this change. Eliminating sick note requirements was a key promise Premier David Eby made during last year's provincial election. Darius Madavi is here with a first look at the weather. Damp November. What a concept on the West Coast.
Who would have guessed? You can see all that moisture streaming into the province, a lot of it making its way up into the north where we have that snowfall warning in place, 10 centimeters, maybe 15 coming there to Pine Pass. Then we also have a rainfall warning in place for Metro Vancouver and up into Howe Sound. And if we take a look at our precipitation forecast on the south coast, you can see why that heavy precipitation continues overnight into tomorrow morning on and off. But it works its way down the island, starting to see some clearing up. We will then see that continue into Metro Vancouver, so expect a bit of a dry afternoon tomorrow, maybe with even a little bit of clearing. That continues through the day on Friday, Dan, and then the rain returns Friday night and holds as showers into the weekend.
Okay, thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
More now on CBC News' extensive coverage of the rash of extortion cases in Surrey and beyond. This week, we're looking at how police are responding. Investigators say there has been an explosion of cases since June, and many people are, understandably, demanding more arrests. But as John Hernandez reports, BC's top cops say investigations take time.
Extortion cases are piling up in the Lower Mainland, and you could call Surrey the front line. There have been more than 70 extortion cases reported here since January, dozens involving gunfire. So why haven't we seen more arrests, and how do police even begin to tackle organized crime that might span international borders? We put those questions directly to BC's top cops.
You can appreciate these are complex investigations.
Surrey Police Chief Norm Lipinski says the extortion trend has gotten worse since June.
Many of these messages come offshore. We believe that there is an overarching organized crime element to this. Then you have sometimes copycats, and that is just local criminals that see this as an avenue to make money.
Lipinski says Surrey police are first to respond to any extortion calls in their city, and officers spend a lot of time on the front lines communicating with victims. But some who have received extortion calls have taken matters into their own hands.
Some people have moved away, but I encourage people to stay, and I encourage people to report it, keep the evidence, and do not pay. We have information that in some cases there has been payment, but we haven't qualified that as of yet.
Local police pass information on to the Joint Extortion Task Force led by the BC RCMP, which then determines whether it needs to get involved.
Like any typical sort of organized crime activity, you start to see they're not really respecting municipal boundaries. They're not respecting provincial boundaries. So what we did was focus in here in British Columbia in the Lower Mainland, was to ensure that what we could do is leverage police resources.
Chief Superintendent Duncan Pound wouldn't confirm just how many cases have made their way up to provincial investigators, but said there are certain criteria that might warrant the task force's help.
To get search warrants authorized, to go in and seize vehicles, to go in and sort of gather that perishable evidence. If there was another area where we were seeing what we believe to be a target group that was particularly violent in terms of rounds into residences or businesses, that might be an area where the task force would try and take a greater role in it.
And while the criminal networks involved in BC's extortions might span international boundaries, officers in BC say targeting criminals on the front lines is their most effective tool.
Can we find the evidence that would put an alleged organized crime figure in a different country on the phone or into the investigation? It's a huge amount of evidence you'd have to gather, and it becomes much more complicated when you're talking about going abroad. So the focus for the task force, the focus for police jurisdiction is always what's the evidence we have here, and let's follow it right to the end. And what we want to do is hold the people that are here in Canada accountable for their actions.
But so far, the RCMP reports just 7 people have been charged in 3 separate extortions. Police say the numbers reflect the complexity of each investigation.
What we have to also ensure is that we're going by major case management principles. We're gathering the evidence in a way that we can ensure that it's going to be presented in court. It will not be discarded or thrown out because of shortcuts.
As with any crime, police say the investigations that move forward the fastest are when suspects are caught red-handed. That's why Surrey's mayor wants to see more officers on the ground here.
I'm going to tell you this. The public in Surrey needs to see visible action in our city. We need to see a dedicated force in our city.
We could always use more officers at the present time. We do have enough. If the files continue to increase, we'll be looking to put more resources into it.
Meanwhile, provincial officials say they have faith investigations are progressing swiftly.
But we have a dedicated team of about 8 Crown Counsel that are specifically focused on the extortion cases. And I get regular reports from the prosecution service, and they are quick to act.
Extortion experts say a specialized investigation team was a step in the right direction, and success shouldn't necessarily be measured by the total number of arrests, but rather in public trust in policing.
So you need to convince people that it is in their best interest to report crime. You sort of start doing that by creating those specialized units, but at the same time, you need to have a dialogue with them. You need to understand why is it that they are not reporting these crimes.
Public trust in policing is being tested each day as many residents and business owners are left wondering if and when this mounting threat will end. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
And for more on the extortion crisis, please join us in Surrey on Thursday, November 13th, for a community town hall. You'll hear about the impacts and solutions that are being offered. You can reserve a seat at cbc.ca/BC Community. You can also just show up at the Surrey Arts Centre in Bear Creek Park. It is free to attend, Seating, though, is limited without that reservation. The need for more affordable housing spans our province. After the break, how one project aims to offer some relief for a resort community. Stick around. A center offering mental health and substance use services for young people is opening next week in Surrey.
I am so pleased to be here with everybody to celebrate and announce the official opening of the 19th Foundry location in British Columbia, right here in the heart of Surrey.
The Foundry Surrey Central site will provide free mental health services for people aged 12 to 24. Fraser Health staff will be on site to provide expanded care as well. The province is closing a supportive social housing building on Granville Street in downtown Vancouver. As Pinky Wong explains, the shutdown comes as the city revamps that area ahead of the Men's World Cup next summer.
We had a couple people in tears here because this has been their home for 5 years.
The former Howard Johnson Hotel was purchased by the province during the COVID-19 pandemic and converted into social housing.
The place I was offered is way out in 57th. It's 6.5 blocks to the closest bus stop. That's even farther to the nearest grocery store.
BC Housing has notified tenants they will be closing the building by June 2026.
I'm excited to know that we'll be getting out of there.
She says the living condition has gotten worse since she moved in 5 years ago.
They're not suitable for living. There's cockroaches all over the place. There was like mice running around my room.
BC Housing Minister says the City of Vancouver has been requesting the closure around its plan for the Granville Entertainment District.
It's a building that wasn't purpose-built for supportive housing, and there have been a number of challenges. We still know that bringing people inside is important to them.
She says the province is working to find alternative housing for the residents. Non-profit community builders took over operations of the building 2 months ago. News of the closure came as a surprise.
We understand that the city feels that supportive housing doesn't have a place in the entertainment district.
She says they are working closely with authorities to relocate the 83 occupants of the building. The Hospitality Vancouver Association has been publicly calling for the SRO's closure.
We're thrilled. It's long overdue.
When asked whether the closure is related to the FIFA World Cup coming to the city next summer,
I don't think it's a coincidence. Businesses in the hospitality sector and outside of that particular sector are not the appropriate place to house people with complex mental health and addiction needs.
The City of Vancouver has also asked the province to close 2 other SROs, including St. Helens on Granville Street. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, still with housing, the resort municipality of Sun Peaks, just north of Kamloops, has long struggled to keep professionals in the community because of its lack of affordable rental housing. As Jennifer Norwell reports, though, construction is now underway on a 110-unit building.
The building as it would look from the road.
Sun Peaks Mayor Robert O'Toole shows off the renderings of a new rental project that's under construction in the resort municipality.
Spend significant time and money training future leaders only to lose them.
The big issue, people don't have places that they can afford to stay. Like Whistler, the interior resort is filled with seasonal workers and visitors, driving up prices.
People are looking for housing and accommodation, but, you know, we're in the tourism and accommodation business, so you're competing for long-term beds for residents against people that are, looking to do nightly rentals.
Sun Peaks Resort has built housing projects for its workers, but it's left other residents without a lot of other options. For years, former Mayor Al Rain pushed for rental units. Now that's happening.
It will change the landscape, I think, tremendously in terms of meeting the shortfall that we're currently seeing for those workers and their families that support the resort community.
Planning for this project only started in April, so the pace is a record for BC Housing.
This is significant. This is a game, we are the fastest to build of any of the projects that they've worked on since they've had this build stream.
That means this 110-unit project in Sun Peaks could end up being a template of sorts for other communities.
People don't realize that just regular middle-income housing is needed throughout the province. So to be able to do something like this in communities like Sun Peaks is really important.
Construction has already begun, and the plan is to get people moving in within a year and a half. Jennifer Norwell, CBC News, Sun Peaks.
Spectacular sunbathing this city of Kamloops earlier in the day. There's the river, but rain is on the way. Dorius has your BC-wide weather forecast coming up. Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne was pitching the federal budget to business leaders in Vancouver today. He says during this uncertain time, it is an investment in building Canada's economy.
A confident country invest in themselves, and that's what Budget 2025 is about. It's an investment budget to build a resilient country. Whatever comes at us, we will be more resilient. We will have the infrastructure needed. We'll build the housing that we need, and we'll invest in competitiveness and productivity.
This comes as Prime Minister Carney is expected to announce the second round of nation-building projects tomorrow. He'll do so in Terrace. Sources tell CBC News the Silissum's floating LNG project in Prince Rupert is on that list. Carney also spent some time in White Rock earlier today. Among the big projects, the federal budget also pledged support for local ones, including the famous White Rock Pier, which was broken in two during a storm in 2018. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, meanwhile, says he does not plan on changing his leadership style. As Kate McKenna reports, his comments come after one of his MPs crossed the floor to the Liberals last week, and another announced his resignation sometime next year.
At Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's first news conference after two surprise caucus departures, he doubled down.
I'm very saddened for the Nova Scotia families on whom Mr. Carney and Mr. D'Entremont are raising the price of groceries and homes.
Last week, Alberta MP Matt Genereux announced plans to resign his seat. And Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont crossed the floor to the Liberals, citing Poilievre's leadership as a reason why. But the Conservative leader says he doesn't plan on changing.
No, my plan is to continue to lead and be the only leader in the country that's fighting for an affordable Canada, where our people who work hard can afford a home and food.
He also accused the media of having a double standard.
It does not live up to its promise of generational investments.
After Liberal MP Nate Erskine-Smith gave the budget a mixed review.
I know you're camped outside his office right now, waiting to get comment from him. I know you've been chasing Mark Carney down hallways.
And he pointed repeatedly to these comments made by D'Entremont while he was still in the Conservative caucus.
We warned that Liberals, their out-of-control spending and massive deficits were irresponsible. But of course they didn't listen. And now, after 6 months under a new Prime Minister who promised financial discipline, Canadians are still waiting. He said he'd be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are judging him, and they are not impressed.
Whether this will be enough to stop questions about Poilievre's leadership remains an open question.
What Mr. Poilievre's thinking.
This pollster says Poilievre is popular with the Conservative base, but divisive with the Canadian population.
But one of the distinctive features of Mr. Poilievre is just how polarizing he is. There's a lot of Canadians who like him, and there are a lot of Canadians who don't. And it's almost entirely divided by whether you support the Conservative Party or not.
Chris D'Entremont responded to what Poilievre said in a statement, calling his comments spin and claiming it proves his point about Poilievre's leadership. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canadians boycotting travel to the U.S. have helped drive American tourism losses into the billions. That's in a new report. Sophia Harris shows us some of the travelers standing firm in the efforts to try to woo them back.
Snowbird Rena Hans owns a condo in Florida, but she's packing her bags instead for Costa Rica. Hans is one of many Canadians boycotting travel to the U.S. since U.S. President Donald Trump took office.
We are never going to be the 51st state of the United States. I've chosen not to spend money in a country that is being that belligerent about us or to us.
In October, the number of return trips Canadians made to the U.S. plummeted by 24% for air travel and by 30% for land travel compared to last year.
We're just kind of staying put, staying in Canada.
It's going to be a while before we ever decide to do anything in the U.S. Their ideas need to change.
Now, a new U.S. Travel Association report has tallied the cost. It forecasts a more than 3% decline in international tourism spending for 2025, a close to $6 billion loss compared to 2024. The main culprit, says the report, fewer Canadian visitors.
The tourism sector is labor intensive and it's a big employer in many states, and the decline threatens thousands of jobs.
Several U.S. tourist destinations are already feeling it. including Kalispell, Montana, a skiing destination close to Alberta. Canadian tourism spending here has dropped by almost 40% this year.
We just want to reconnect with our Canadian neighbors.
To try to do that, Kalispell has launched a Welcome Pass, where local businesses are offering Canadians deals.
Our welcome mat is out, and when you are ready to travel here, we'd love to see you. And as a token of appreciation, we're providing some discounts that you can take advantage of.
The U.S. Travel Association predicts a rebound in international tourism next year.
We are FIFA,
as it hosts many FIFA World Cup games. But some Canadians, including Hans, say they won't return to the U.S. while Trump is still in office. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Newly released documents are raising more questions about Donald Trump's friendship with the now dead sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The emails written by Epstein referencing the president were released on the same day the U.S. House of Representatives voted to pass a bill to end the federal government shutdown. Katie Nicholson has more.
The House will be in order.
After a recess that stretched 54 days,
The chair lays before the House a communication.
the House is back in session to pass a measure to end the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. But House Democrats started the day with a bang, releasing 3 private emails from the more than 20,000 the Oversight Committee has obtained from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. All 3 mention Donald Trump. Among them, a 2011 email to Epstein's longtime partner, now convicted child sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein refers to Trump as having spent hours at my house with a sex trafficking victim. And a 2019 email exchange with journalist Michael Wolff in which Epstein wrote that Trump knew about the girls he asked Ghislaine to stop. At the time, Epstein was months away from federal charges of sex trafficking minors. Republicans accused the Democrats of cherry-picking the emails and released a deluge, 20,000 pages from the Epstein estate, all as the White House pushed back on the notion the emails point to impropriety.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach and so was Jeffrey Epstein.
Donald Trump and Epstein had a well-documented friendship that started to sour over a real estate deal in 2004. There's no suggestion Trump was involved in any criminal wrongdoing in the emails, but their release comes just as Adelita Grihova was finally sworn in 7 weeks after she was elected. The Arizona representative tipped the balance on a discharge petition to force a House vote, demanding the Department of Justice release its own Epstein files. Representatives are ready for a fight.
If you know that you are free and clear, then why not say, you know what, release the files?
Even so, there are questions whether any of the 4 House Republicans who supported releasing the files will change their minds after one of them took a meeting with the White House. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Ahead of a CBC News town hall on extortion in Surrey, we take you through the cases and concerns. More on the timeline of the violence after the break. Russia says it is making strategic advances in two key cities in eastern Ukraine. Kyiv's top military commander says the fiercest battles are in the embattled city of Pokrovsk. As Briar Stewart explains, it has been under threat by Russian forces for more than a year.
Through the fog, a glimpse of battleground Pokrovsk, a strategic Ukrainian city, barren, bleak, and on the brink.
There are much more Russians than there was before. Several hundreds of them are in the city.
We are only identifying this Ukrainian drone operator by his military call sign, Goose. For nearly a year, he's had an aerial view of Pokrovsk, as Ukraine has been trying to stop Russian soldiers from pushing further.
Almost all of the city now is a gray zone. It is not controlled by our side or the Russian side.
With skies saturated by drones, it's too risky to bring in large military equipment. So troops make the last part of the journey by walking, around 10 kilometers.
It's very difficult for our troops because the Russians has the advantages, at least in the quantity of the infantry.
Volodymyr Polevy estimates that the ratio of Russian troops to Ukrainians in this area is about 5-1. Russia has long sought the city of Pokrovsk, which had a population of 60,000 before the war. Now officials estimate 1,000 civilians remain. Russia is trying to encircle Pokrovsk and cut off access to the nearby city of Mirnohrad. It's part of a goal to seize an even greater chunk of Ukraine's Donetsk region.
We have to hold this position as many times as we need, as we can.
To the southeast in the Zaporizhia region, Russia is also trying to press forward. Police are rushing to evacuate residents while they can, fearing they could be trapped as the front line inches closer. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
Israel's president says Jewish settlers, quote, crossed a red line with their latest attack on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. On Tuesday, a large group of masked Israeli settlers converged on two Palestinian villages in what Palestinian officials say is part of an ongoing campaign to drive them off their land. As Tom Perry reports, Israel has done little to stop the violence until now.
The latest attack by Israeli settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank was a mass arson attack by dozens of masked Israeli settlers descending on these communities in the West Bank, setting fire to vehicles, setting fire to buildings. Security camera footage from a dairy in one of the communities that came under attack shows large crowds of masked individuals approaching the building, trying to break windows, attacking cars in the parking lot, and going after delivery trucks from the dairy that were outside as well, setting fire to them. Now, the dairy's director has talked about some of what happened. He says that he thinks there were between 60 and 70 attackers coming after his facility.
The attack was pre-planned, entirely pre-planned, and they were divided by groups. Each group know what to do. The groups which broke into the doors, not the same group that banned the cars. So they were really organized settlers.
The Israeli military says it tried to break up some of these attacks. It says that it apprehended a number of individuals, turned them over to Israeli police. 4 Palestinians were injured in these attacks. The Israeli military is condemning them. We're also hearing that same message from Israel's president, Isaac Herzog, calling it unacceptable. What the Israeli media has been pointing out today is that what really sets this attack apart is that authorities did try to break it up. In the past, they've turned a blind eye or worse. The United Nations put out a report last month saying that there were 757 attacks by settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank in the first half of this year. That's up from last year. And it says in many cases, authorities were either acquiesced to these attacks or in some cases just supported them outright, and that settlers were acting with a sense of impunity. Tom Perry, CBC News, Jerusalem.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Give today to bring more progress and possibilities to patients and their families. Your donation changes everything.
Darius Madava here with the BC Wide Weather Forecast. Before the rain, we talk Aurora.
That's right. Look at this beautiful photo taken flying over Nunavut, actually, last night. In very strong geomagnetic storm last night, generated beautiful auroras across Canada and down as far south as Texas, and we're getting it again tonight. If anything, this storm might end up being stronger than yesterday's. The coronal mass ejection, the charged particles that came from the sun, people are calling this a cannibal event because there were actually two blasts that combined in space and then came here to Earth. Now, it is hitting Earth right now, but the magnetic field hasn't lined up just right, but that can change in an instant, and then the northern lights can start within half an hour, 40 minutes after that, and very far south. Yesterday, we've seen as far south as Texas and Florida, and we could see a repeat of that again today if it wasn't for the clouds. Prairies are really the place to be tonight, but since we can't have a view of the northern lights tonight in most places in BC, I thought we'd just have a quick look. This is the Matterhorn last night in Italy. If we take a look here, this one is from Kansas, so very far south. Here's another one, beautiful image. And then here are a few from our fellow CBC reporters. This one is in Regina, and these two in Edmonton. So some beautiful images to tide those of us over who are a little bit disappointed about the clouds. Now, let's talk about the rain here and why we're getting those clouds. We have that low pressure system sweeping over across BC. That is going to continue to spread some rain into tomorrow, some heavy rain. Then as we head into the weekend, brief reprieve Thursday night into Friday here on the south coast. By Friday evening, though, that next wave of moisture arrives, but mostly hits south of us. So maybe a couple hours of more consistent precipitation on Friday, but then it moves south of us, and then we don't really see much of it after that. More snow is coming to the Peace. Snowfall warning up for Pine Pass. Remember that, 10 centimeters. If you're in the central interior, we may see a transition from rain to snow tomorrow afternoon if the precipitation sticks around that long, because temperatures drop pretty quickly below the freezing mark as we get into tomorrow. That is something to keep in mind if you are in the central interior, because, again, temperatures drop pretty fast from about 2 degrees to the low is -7 that night, dipping below zero probably by mid-afternoon. In terms of those temperatures, our coldest day is going to be Friday this week. It was looking like it would be Thursday, but now we're thinking Friday. That cold front sweeps through again tomorrow. So that high that we're reaching in Prince George on Thursday, expect it to be brief before the temperatures drop again. And then Friday, temperatures start to recover. A little bit of sunshine on the north and central coast, Dan, a little bit unusual compared to where we usually see it in the interior. And after that rain ends tomorrow, in the evening, expect a dry 12, 18 hours.
Okay, we are counting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darius.
Thank you.
Back to one of our top stories now. In Surrey, police say they have investigated 94 extortion-related incidents so far this year. Nearly half involve gunfire. The CBC's Saurabh Sandhu has been covering the cases extensively. Here is part 2 of his extortion cases timeline.
Multiple businesses with ties to Surrey businessman Satish Kumar were shot at within a span of few days.
These guys took the responsibility. They said, we did that.
Kumar said weeks prior to the shooting, he received extortion calls which he reported to the police. But even after reporting it, police failed to protect him and his business. To air his grievances, Kumar held a public forum at his banquet hall, a place targeted in an earlier shooting.
We are gathered here today to address a matter of serious and growing concern.
Hundreds gathered at the forum, expressing their frustration over the slow pace of police investigations and lack of arrests.
I'm in their target right now. But they won't stop unless the government cannot do something.
Officials from all levels of government and police in attendance gave assurances. But just a day later, gunshots went off again at this trucking business in Surrey.
Like 2 guys came.
Owner Raghbir Singh Nijjar revealed his home was also shot at and attackers tried to set his car on fire in August 2024, following a phone call demanding $500,000.
They gotta continue calling, asking for monies, right? But I already report RCMP or Surrey Police, right?
BC's extortion crisis got worldwide attention after shots were fired twice in 2 months at this cafe just a week after it opened. The cafe is owned by popular Bollywood comedian and actor Kapil Sharma. Again, perpetrators posted videos of the brazen attack on social media, triggering concerns for public safety within the local community. But it wasn't just big businesses being targeted. An extortion call to a Surrey car wash owner was followed by a shooting and break and enter at the business. The callers demanded $50,000.
So I'm not like the big businessman, like I'm not like a millionaire. I have a local family and like the twins kid at home.
In September, the BC government announced the launch of a provincial task force to tackle the growing number of extortion threats and shootings targeted at BC's South Asian community. Local police task forces dedicated to investigating extortion-related crimes were also announced by police forces in Surrey and Abbotsford. Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke also announced a $250,000 fund to reward tipsters who bring forward information that leads to successful extortion convictions in the city. Amid growing calls for action, the federal government listed the Lawrence Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity in Canada. But a day later, a Surrey-based community radio station, which had opened its door just months earlier, became the target of a shooting. This shattered glass mark shows how the bullet almost made it to the on-air studio.
If we had been live at that time, that bullet would have gone right through me.
Police said the shooting is linked to a string of extortion cases, and the investigation was taken over by the provincial task force. But the shootings ramped up. On October 6th, 3 more shooting incidents linked to extortions were reported in Surrey. The same day, for the first time in 2 years, police announced a number of arrests in relation to extortion-related crimes. Surrey police announced 3 individuals were arrested and charged in relation to an extortion investigation dating back to March 2025. Hours later, the provincial task force announced 2 men were charged with a shooting and arson at the residence of a person who had received extortion threats in Surrey. One of the accused, 26-year-old Abhijit Kingra, was also sentenced to 6 years in jail for his role in the September 2024 attack on musician AP Dhillon's home. Court docs obtained by CBC News show Kingra, who came to Canada on a student visa, was hired to terrorize Punjabi singer AP Dhillon at the behest of Lawrence Bishnoi gang. His co-accused, a 24-year-old Vikram Sharma, has also been charged, but he is believed to have fled Canada. Just as the local South Asian community was heaving a sigh of relief after the announcement of arrests and charges, it came face to face with another grim milestone. Police said they were investigating any possible links to extortion after a woman was left critically injured in an early morning shooting targeted at a residence in Surrey on October 12th. Just 3 days later, Cap's Cafe was shot at for the 3rd time. Vijay Saini is a radio host with Connect FM, a Punjabi radio station in Surrey.
Given the number of incidents that we have had, and if so far we've only had one person who's been jailed, several handful of people who've been charged, the need of the hour is a lot more stronger.
More shootings tied to extortions happened in late October, including shots fired at a home in Surrey's Panorama Ridge neighborhood on 29th. Police said shortly after the shooting, they were able to arrest 2 suspects and that the incident is believed to be extortion-related. The 2 arrested have since been released, pending further investigation. The CBC has made efforts to speak with more extortion victims within the local South Asian community here in BC, but we have been met with challenges. Victims are hesitant to speak up, fearing retribution from their tormentors. Even those who are not impacted by this crisis directly don't want to speak out, concerned that it may put a target on their backs. Some even question the efficacy of the process. In private, some business owners admit they know victims who have paid the extortion money And some of the victims who did not pay, they say, have moved out of the country, a crisis that appears to have no end in sight for now. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
And for more on the extortion crisis, again, please join us in Surrey on Thursday, November 13th. That's tomorrow for a community town hall. It starts at 6:30. You'll hear about the impacts and solutions being offered. You can reserve a seat online, cbc.ca/BC Community, or just show up. The event takes place at the Surrey Arts Centre in Bear Creek Park, and it is free to attend, but seating may be limited. Come back with a splash. A Saanich Recreation Centre has replaced its old water slide. After the break, we take a look at the fun new tube.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. CBC's Make the Season Kind returns Friday, December 5th on the CBC Outdoor Plaza in downtown Vancouver. Join us for a day of festive fun, live entertainment, and community spirit. It's going to be the biggest year yet, and best of all, it's all in support of local food banks across BC. For all the details, head to cbc.ca/kindbc.
After 11 weeks, the Saanich Commonwealth Place Recreation Centre near Victoria now has a fully enclosed water slide.
You'll see there the stripes and the polka dots that are on the surface of the slide, and they let the light shine through that actually create a really neat visual experience when you're going down the slide.
The old tube was 32 years old, and after reviewing reports from engineers and manufacturers, the district determined it had to be replaced. The new slide will be open to the public November 19th. Good times. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC GM, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC. We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.